And believe me, I've never met a skeleton that didn't have a story to tell.
All new at 5:30, skeleton stories. More than 300 exhumed remains are now in their final resting place. It's all part of a University of Buffalo study to learn more about the bodies buried at the former Erie County poorhouse, which is now UB South campus. News 4's Marissa Perlman has details on the ceremony celebrating their lives. Marissa.
Christy, they died more than 100 years ago and were buried in unmarked graves. Because of poor record keeping, though, today they still remain nameless. But researchers who have come to know and love what they call more than just a pile of bones say they now want to share their stories. It's a bittersweet goodbye.
I miss them already.
For Dr. Joyce Sirianni and her team.
These bones are forgotten people.
Inside these 8 caskets are the remains of more than 300 people, many of whom were infants.
It was a calling. It was a calling.
Studied for 5 years by Sirianni and her research team.
I've spent decades trying to reconstruct the lives of past human populations.
And she says each one has its own story.
They're no longer just a pile of bones. They are individuals, and they have character.
A state Supreme Court order allowed Sirianni to study the nameless dead.
The history, the biological information, that's all there. That's part of me now.
Many who stayed here those 100 years ago were recent immigrants. Poorhouses provided a roof and food for people who had no other option.
They're the people who built Buffalo in so many ways with their hands and feet. They were the richness of, they didn't have money, but they had character.
The bones became her friends, sometimes speaking to her after long days in the lab.
Who will remember me? Who will tell my story?
And this day, every story is honored as they are laid to rest once again.
Peace be with you until we meet again.
Now, researchers estimate as many as 3,000 people could have been buried at the old poorhouse cemetery. Now, some of these remains were full skeletons, others just small bits of bone. Assumption Cemetery on Grand Island is the new final resting place for these remains. Live in the newsroom, Marissa Perlman, News 4 at 5:30.